Well, so the Rebbe explained that the pasuk here, the Rebbe explained um, what is the chiddush of the pasuk Boyu Rishu as Haaretz, um, that the pasuk is in addition of knowing that they're going to Eretz Yisrael. The chiddush that Rebbe said is two things. First of all, that you are at, it's already given to you, nosati. It's more than just hearing about it in Mitzrayim. It's more about than the estimation by Kriyas Yamsuf when Nomegul Koyutuve'emus Te'eme Bar Nachaloscho. But now you can actually see, as the Rebbe will explain further. And number two, therefore, you're going to get it right away. So what's left to explain here, the Rebbe says. So what's left to explain here is, well, what does it have to do right now? Why is Moshe Rabbeinu telling them about that they're seeing and there's going to be no delay and you can actually give it? What does it have to do over here? Still, we're lacking explanation. Mahi hashaychus shel haftocha zu lanesiyim harchoyrav dafke. What's the connection of this promise, Rei Nosati, to this journey from Mount Choyrav Davke? Shalochein nemra kan Davke. That's why it said over here that you're going from Har Choyrav Achados Yom, and here we're telling them that Rei Nosati. And also, what's the reason that Moshe is reviewing this now after 40 years? What is he trying to tell? So very simply, the explanation is Dibur zeh shel Moshe bo behemshech ledivrei hatoichocha shebetchilas haparsha. These words of Moshe come as a follow-up to the words of rebuke in the beginning of the parsha. Moshe Rabbeinu was rebuking the people. What was he saying to them? It even takes 11 days on the normal walk from Choyrev by way of Har Seir to Kodesh Barnea. Rashi Shom. And Rashi explained what was the rebuke. That Moshe Rabbeinu says to them, Ru'u ma garamtem, look what you caused. Ein lachem derech ketzora mechoyrev lekodesh barnea kedarech Har Seir. There is no shorter path to go from Choyrev to Kodesh Barnea than by road of Har Seir. So this is the shortest path, and how long does that shortest path take? And that also, the shortest way is 11 days. And you went there 3 days. That's how quick. Why did you go so quick? So much the Shechina was trying and working through for you to hasten your entrance to the land. Now, so instead of even the usual way, he made it in 3 days, but it takes 11 days, the quickest way. And Hashem wanted to go in quickly as possible. Because you ruined with the Meraglim, you had to circle around for 40 years. So what does it mean? This journey from Har Choyrev, the Yid went with a lightning, miraculous speed. Why did it do that? Because the Shechina, the divine, was trying very hard for the Yidden to get them in, to hasten their entrance to the land. That's why this miraculous journey that takes 11 days took in 3 days. So after he's saying his words short and in a hint, Then he goes back to relate about this journey in details and more about it. He says, "Abaya lekeinu diber eleinu b'choyre v'lemer, Rab lochem sheves b'hor hazeh." Hashem our God spoke to us on Horeb saying, "It's enough sitting on the mountain at the Har Sinai. Pnu sulachem, move, journey, uboyu, and go to Har HaMoedi, to all of the land of Eretz Yisrael." V'zeu gam ki ma she'osu. That's what he adds to them. He says, "Re'ei nasati lifneichem es oretz boyu reshu gomer." Now he says, "Come, see, come and see the Ashloimar shebazer ramos lahem haniflois sherou be'es nesiyazu." He was hinting to them these great wonders that they saw during this journey of 11 days and 3 days, the miraculous. Shabir oisam hamihirus hanisis, when they see this miraculous speed. Shememar HaKadosh Baruch Hu as biyosam la'oretz, that Hashem is hasting their entrance to the land. Harezu re'iyah buchoshis. So then you see it vividly. This is re'ei. From Hashem's perspective, given to you. Look what's going on. There is nothing to hold back and nothing to prevent. All what we're lacking is the actual going into the land. So Moshe Rabbeinu was first telling them about how they were just about. And they see this. This is an A because this miraculous entrance. Elo shal yidei chata'ehem, through their sins can be super. The pasuk continues later on that they erred with the maraglim. Gormu shenisakvu b'midbar yoser ve'oid lamed cheshon. They were delayed in the midbar for more than another 38 years instead of this haste the miraculous. So the Eibishter almost gave it to them. They saw already the miraculous. And this is going to explain also the other diyukim questions that I've asked in Rashi. Zayin. Api hanal yevur gam ken proto l'shenes Rashi b'dibra maskul b'yirushu. We'll also understand the details of Rashi's language in the Rashi of b'yirushu. Just like in the posik of 11 days Mechodev, Madgish Rashi ha'ipach min hakotza lakotza shenikram al yidei maseim shel Yisrael. Rashi emphasizes the opposite from one extreme to the other, which was caused through the actions of the Yid. Shaloi zu bilvat shahoyu rak derech kitzorem eretz Yisrael. Not only was they a short road from Eretz Yisrael, Derech Yudalef Yoimat Kodesh Barnea, Shubik Eretz Yisrael, that not only were they in a short, 11 days is also not a long time. It was 11 days at Kodesh Barnea. Shehi Bigvul Eretz Yisrael. Kodesh Barnea is the boundary of Eretz Yisrael. So they were 11 days. So that wasn't quick enough. This short way, they went with a miraculous speed, in 3 days. And instead of this miraculous speed in which the Shekhinah tried hard to bring them to the land, they were delayed in the Mizbar to the 40 years. So that's the idea of that pasuk Arba, that Achados Yoim, telling you the extreme from one to the other. Same thing this pasukim that followed the Hemshech. Havaya lekeinu diber aleinu b'chodev gomer pnus u reinosati gomer reinosati again. Shenemru gamkin b'toyer techocha. They were saying as a rebuke. Madgish Rashi goydel hamihirus. So the Rashi emphasizes the great speed in the idea was taking place. Hainu heder hamaniyas v'yikuim mikol hasugim, the lack of anything preventing or holding back of all categories. Rashi says there was a tremendous speed over here because there was nothing missing. Shahoyot tzorich liz b'knisosim l'oretz, that should have been entering into the land. As Boris saying it. Rashi wants to say how there was a quick and a speedy entrance to Eretz Yisrael without any delays. And the Rebbe explains that there could be two aspects in the delay. Because Nasati lifneichem es haaretz koilo shnei dvarim, that I've given you the land includes two things. I'm giving you the land is Aleph, Nisinas Bailus Bidin. I give you the ownership by right, by judgment. Even though the land in the beginning was under the possession of the Canaan, and they can argue that the land is theirs. To use Rashi's language in the beginning of his commentary on the Torah, all of the land belongs to Hashem. He created it and he gave it to whoever fits is proper in his eyes. His wishes was he took it from them and gave it to us. So number one is that there would be no delay by justice, by right. We have a right to it. And number two, to give the actual land in actuality, by the Hashem chasing away the nations for the Yidden, and they inherited and they settled their poil. So there should be no legal arguments and there should be no practical arguments. They should chase them away. These are the two aspects Rashi talks about. Nobody complaining, which means there will be no legal challenges. You won't need war. That in both of these areas, there's not going to be anything to prevent a delay because of the nations. And the Rebbe said, what means nobody challenging? That means to challenge is legally. The Umas will argue that by right, legally, the land belongs to them. And the Rebbe said we can add more than the nations that are being challenged, also the Bnei Edom. He says this would include also a challenge from the Edomite peoples. That the path from Eretz Yisrael from Chodesh to Kodesh Barnea, you have to go through Mount Seir. Rashi, as Rashi explains, had they not sinned, they would go by the Mount Seir to enter into the land of Eretz Yisrael. They're also sons of Yitzchok. We find that the Yidden needed to emphasize when they were sending to the king of Edom, they want to go through his land. That you don't have to challenge the inheritance that we're going to Eretz Yisrael because you didn't pay the debt, you weren't in Mitzrayim, you weren't in and we picked up the debt, the Bnei Yisrael, so therefore it's okay. So that includes his challenge of the nations where we're going, and challenge of the Bnei Edom. That includes, the Rebbe says also, we can say. So take away that challenge. The Eibishter promises them that you can see that Hashem is giving you the land. That the Torah is working hard. The divine is working hard for you to hasten your entrance to the land. Hare shuv lo yala leva umas la'arir, so they will not enter on the mind, the hearts of the nations to challenge Alabaylu shel Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael, that the ownership of the Yidden over Eretz Yisrael. So that's one that you see that doesn't not going to happen. A challenge to the halacha. There's not going to be any delay because you see Hashem's statement. But what about practically removing the people from Eretz Yisrael so the Yidden can enter there? Even there's not going to be a challenge halachically, this still does not negate to prevent and hold back because of the inhabitants, those who live there. Even though they know that the Yidden are justified legally by they're not going to want to leave their land and the place of birth for the Yidden. And they won't allow for the Yidden to enter the land. That's what Rashi continues. You don't need war. That they will move away from the just like we find actually that the Girgoshi stood up and moved from them. So they were over. So these are the two things, Nasati Lifnechem, no legal challenges, no practical challenges. The miraculous conduct of Hashem is Re'eh, you can see that's happening. Oh, well now, Ches, B'hinei, Ma'achar, Shanesiya Marchoyev L'chodesh Barneya Hoyso B'miris Nisis, Shalomayim Matava. Since the journey from Mount Chodesh to Kodesh Barneya was in a miraculous speed, Shalomayim Matava beyond nature, Mistaber Loimar. So therefore, it's logical to say Shagam Behemshech Re'ei Nosati Goyme Boyrushu. Also in the continuation, look, I've given come and inherit. Yesh inyan shel nes shel ma'il ma'ateva. There's something supernatural because they got their supernatural. So when the pasuk is saying boyu reshu, there is something higher than nature. That's why Rashi does not satisfy just saying you don't need war. Because that could be also in nature. It's not a miraculous thing. The Kshayiras B'nai Yisrael in Klezayin, that when they see they didn't have ammunition, ready for war, a fear and a dread will fall them, Yisrael, they'll run away from the Elamoisim. So this is what Rashi says, they wouldn't even need the Klezayin. To say, you don't have to do anything. To put this dread and the fear on the enemy. Says, not even to show yourself armed. It's a miraculous. Such a conduct that you don't even need to do anything. Legarish as umas Eretz Yisrael, to chase them out from Eretz Yisrael. Not only that they will leave them, but this in such a way, not even to have to demonstrate ammunition, so they be afraid of you. Nishlalo mibnei Yisrael, that was negated, taken away. Take a b'shluch hameraglim as soon as they send the meraglim. If they didn't send the meraglim, they wouldn't even have to show that force. Even before the sin with the bad report, which took place after they came back from scouting the land, so they came back and caused the Yidden not to want to go, but just by sending the meraglim. For the matter itself, that the Bnei Yisrael came and said, let us send people before us, the and let them inspect the land. Hera, this showed Shadaitom Shekibu Sha'oretz Yibeder Chateva, that it was in their mind that the capturing of the land should be in the way of nature. Shalochein Zukukim Lishloyach Meraglim. That's why they need to send Meraglim Kidei Lodas Es Aderech Hashem Nalam Bavaglemer in order to know how we should go up. So the Yidden were sort of requesting, we want this in a natural way. They wanted to, that's why they needed the spies, so they should tell them which way to go. Since they didn't rely on Hashem, that He'll bring them to Eretz Yisrael in a way which is beyond measure. That you wouldn't need any natural act. This cause even after the Eibishter made for them miracles, chasing away the nation on the land, they still require the natural act. They would need at least that. They would need ammunition if they on to put the fear and the dread on the enemies. They would need it. So they lost that because of the sending of the Meraglim. Not because of the sin. Because of the sending, because they approached it in a natural way. They couldn't take away that it shouldn't even be a need for ammunition. They needed the ammunition. This was Moshe's intent with his rebuke. How the conduct of Hashem was turned around from one extreme to the other. Instead of not needing any act naturally, not even to ammunition, they didn't even need ammunition, but they first of all, they challenged. As we find, that he didn't even let them go through the land, and he was successful. And further, and they still needed to wage war with the kings of Canaan to inherit the land. So the pasuk here is describing the Eibush that tells you Boyu Rishu, the miracles, and you won't need anything. And you won't even need the Klei Zayin to put a fear on the nations. But instead of that, it was the fact turned around that the war challenged, even the road by Edom, and they needed to wage war. Of course, they had the Klei Zayin. But they lost the Klei Zayin is because they sent the Meraglim in a natural way. Test. From here we have a lesson for our times. Mikra Mola Dibarakosu, the Pasuk, full verse, very clearly. You made Seis Chomeres Mitzrayim, as the days you left Egypt, I will show you miracles. In Ken Yesh Leimer, so in that case we can say, Shagam Haftochas, Gu'ulas Kol Ha'oretz L'Gvulei Saham. When we have the promise of the whole land will be redeemed, all the territory. B'Guloseinu Achrein, an hour later, in our redemption now, it's similar to as the days you went out of Mitzrayim. That from Hashem's perspective will be in a way, nobody will challenge me. You don't need war. You don't even need ammunition. It hinges on the kasher, when they trust properly as needed in Hashem. And for sure, that they don't hold back to say, also in front of the nation, the land is an internal heritage of the Jewish people. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which All of the world belongs to Hashem, all the land. Not Lemehem and us alone, took it from them and gave it to us. As I border Hadova, then it's very clear, Shein Ma'arer B'Dover. Nobody will argue. Nobody will challenge V'Eidzos. Shein Chem Tzrichim L'Chama, you won't even need war. Chayvishol Ba'ad, Shafilu Tzrichim L'Klei Zayin, you don't even need ammunition. V'Zoichim B'Mehirus the Niflois, and we merit in the haste of miraculously, Geulas Kol Haaretz, to the redemption of all the land, the Binyan Beis Hamikdash, the building of the Beis Hamikdash, the Kibbutz Golius, and the ingathering of all the exiles, Kol Zeh B'Eifin Shalach Yishenu, all in a way of very quickly, B'Meira B'Yameinu Mamesh, very speedily in our days. This is Mesichas Shabbos Parshas Matos Umasei Tovshin Lamed Zayin and Shabbos Parshas Dvarim Tovshin Membeis.